There are certain stories that cross over, right? Like, I don't know if that's one or not, but I do a hit once a week for this company, this news organization called GB News, Great Britain News, across the pond. And you know what they want to talk about this week? Whoopi Goldberg. Like, even over there, they want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, there's not a British presenter on television that we would spend a week discussing over here, but they were really interested in Whoopi. And I do think that's one of those stories that just sort of caught fire because it touches on so many things. And since you're somebody who sort of pokes some fun at identity politics, I did think I wanted to ask you, because Ben Shapiro was out there saying she culturally appropriated Goldberg. He was saying her real name is Karen Johnson. And I guess she's not. I don't know if she's Jewish or not, but he said she culturally appropriated Goldberg. And, you know, in today's day and age, she should be canceled for that.
Yeah, no, it's funny, the cultural appropriation comment conversation. Our parents were always so happy to get culturally appropriated. They looked at it as acceptance. Like if they saw, a black actress wearing a sari at the Golden Globes, they would be like, oh, my God, that's so cool. We've made it. Like, look, we're going mainstream. So it's always funny to see the complete 180. And I'm not saying that there can't be a nuanced discussion about it, but like a complete 180 to any cultural appropriation is horrible. Yeah. And hey, let Whoopi be Whoopi. She earned the name Whoopi Goldberg. She's been in enough movies to be Jewish, right?
Well, I'm not sure that's exactly how it works. I didn't know it was Karen Johnson. My EP is telling me she is not Jewish, so it really was an appropriation. She's now, according to reports, she's threatening to quit. She's so mad about her 2-week suspension. She doesn't think it should have happened. And, I'm kind of sitting on the sidelines thinking, I'm not pro punishment to people for their free speech, but live by the sword, but die by the sword. Part of me is like, you created the culture in which this was even possible. Why don't you swim in it for a little while and then get back to me on how you feel about cancel culture and all these warriors?
Yeah, I'm a pretty moderate dude, but one of my favorite things is watching the extreme left cannibalize themselves with wokeness. Because as a comedian, all I want to do is talk and say wild things. And sometimes I will overstep my bounds or whatever. And in those times, there's nothing wrong with me apologizing. That's something I've realized as I grew up. But also, I should be allowed to keep making the jokes. I failed. You told me I failed. Now let me keep trying to make it better. Right. So it is funny when the group of people who cannot stand this at all are slowly realizing none of us are perfect and every one of them is cancelable. That's kind of funny to watch.
Do you think?
But go
ahead.
I also think Whoopi's just old. And I don't mean old like she's 60 or whatever. I mean, she's been working for 30 years. She's rich beyond any amount of money any of us could ever dream of. I think she's just like, I don't need this. Suspend me. Who cares? I'll just quit.
I don't think she's really going to quit. I think it's just like one of those threats. She's not going to quit. She loves that job. It keeps her relevant, keeps her voice and face in the news. And it's basically just to ABC. Just to let people know she wasn't pleased. But there's no way they're firing her. There's zero chance of them firing her. And I don't even think the heart was in the suspension. That was just like a bone to throw to the nasty, complaining, whining little internal staffers.
Yeah.
They complain about everything. I bet you those same staffers didn't give a shit about Jews yesterday. They couldn't have cared less about anti-Semitism. But now, because it's like some rich, powerful woman that they resent because they're never going to have one fraction of her success, they're like, yes, my God, the Jews, we have to fight for them. I guarantee you.
It is funny to watch a bunch of spoiled, snot-nosed little kids basically say Whoopi Goldberg has had an easy life and she's privileged when they have no idea probably the shit she dealt with as a black woman named Whoopi Goldberg, being dark skinned and to still become this legend. She could say some stuff. We could look at it contextually. She was trying to make a larger point. It was a horrible way to make it, but whatever. I thought
that's the thing.
Was just like, let's just get this over with. Come back in 2 weeks.
We treat everything, this comment, every comment, like it's like, this is very serious. This is deeply alarming. It's like, well, she said something dumb. And okay, I get it. I've listened to the case, anti-Semitic. I get the argument, but it's like people, all this stuff is complicated. The Holocaust is a little less complicated. That one's pretty clear. Okay. So I grant you, she stepped in it, but we're just so quick to be, to cut each other down and act holier than thou and pretend that we never could make a rhetorical mistake. And then we relish when somebody who, especially rich and powerful, starts to fall.
Yes. I think how I interpreted it was she was trying to make a larger point about how inhumanity is like the real cancer in the world. And I think you can't ever compare the Holocaust to anything or say the Holocaust. You know what I mean? Like it was just a poor example. But I also think people who want to cancel people, it's so funny that everybody has a podcast and they want to cancel other podcasters because like the podcaster said something that was offensive.
You speak, of course, of Mary Trump and her deadly threat to withdraw her podcast from Spotify unless they pull Joe Rogan. You know, Mary.
Yeah, all these people, if you are talking for hours a day, and especially if you're trying to be entertaining, you are going to say stupid things. It is inevitable. And the reason your podcast, if you're one of these unsuccessful people trying to cancel successful podcasters, you probably haven't said anything offensive because your podcast sucks. Nobody wants to listen to it. It's boring as hell. A fun podcast is going to be offensive at times or going to overstep boundaries at times. That is the cost of doing business when you're being entertaining.
It's so true. And honestly, I think about these people who are like, bring her down, she said something, and bring him down, whoever it is. And I know, like, I'm comforted by the fact, because I've actually worked with these people. I know a few of these people, that they wake up on Saturday morning in their loveless, sexless lives and look around at their lame, boring apartments and think, my life sucks. Who else can I cancel for that momentary soothing balm? But they go right back to zero, right? And I've even had some of those people who try to play that card on me, call me up later and say like, oh, I would love to have a job. And it's so fun ignoring them. My God, it feels so good.
Hey, I love that philosophy. Good for you. Keep ignoring them or have an assistant text them whatever you want to say from another phone so they know you want to cuss them out, but it's not even worth your fingers being used.
Oh, wow. What are you saying? Like she gets a burner phone? What am I doing with Abby?
No, I just, hey, this
signed
is,
Mike Hunt.
This, yeah, this is Megan's assistant. She wanted to tell you this, but you weren't worth her actually typing a text. So here we go. And then just quotes and then whatever you want to say. Go fuck yourself or whatever. There it is.
Yeah. God, that's what you really do want to say. But you have to say it with your silence sometimes. Now, what are you, speaking of podcasters trying to cover up other podcasters and Mary Trump and her deadly threat, Spotify, they came out today, I think it was the CEO, and said, like, I got, free speech and we got Joe Rogan's back and so on. But the left is not listening. But day by day, we get more like, I don't know, 60s rockers, like retirement age, like whatever. They're all on Social Security now, pulling their music and so on, trying to like threaten Joe Rogan. And I heard you and Andrew talking about this. Like the threat is not so much that they pull Joe Rogan. The threat is that one day they set their sights on you or somebody who doesn't have quite as much power as Joe Rogan, and you're a much easier target.
Yes, 100%. And I actually think I had this conversation on another podcast, and I think I even said it in my own. I'm not as worried about that because I think at the end of the day, people want authenticity. And I think if you are trying to be authentic to what you truly believe and not being performative for either side, a large swath of people will come to you and support you, and you will have fans and support in that sense always. But I think the more dangerous part of this is the side that disagrees with me is radioactive. And if I engage with them at all, I'm a traitor in some form or fashion and will silence anybody we disagree with. I truly think this is a much larger problem than me and my career or whatever. I think that's a really bad thing for the country. I think it's like toxic. And I think as we continue on this divergent path, I truly do worry about, again, beyond cancellation and whatever, this idea that you can just silence the other side that if you don't agree with them. I don't know if America survives if we keep doing that.
That reminds me of a joke I heard you say. People always say, name one thing a white male can't have. Do you remember how you finished it?
Yes. Okay. An opinion. And I truly feel that way. I want everybody to be honest with me. White dude, whatever. Be honest. Even if you are racist, at least I know. I'm not going to be friends with you, but at least I know to stay away from you. So say it. Have whatever you want to say and let it out. I think a lot of toxicity gets created by forcing people to bury everything. And then all their silent thoughts get angrier and angrier. And it just turns into a dark, toxic thing.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.